What challenges do food manufacturers face in sourcing ingredients? Can we order small pack sizes and quantities? How to be innovative and limit the R&D costs at the same time? Do we have competitive prices for ingredients? Are we covering demand, costs, and resolving supply issues? Listen to our food ingredients experts discuss the biggest questions facing buying food ingredients today. Welcome to One to Taste Talks Food Ingredients.
Welcome to the third episode of One to Taste Talks Food Ingredients. I am Jasper Schouten, CEO of One to Taste, and today I will talk with my guests about the latest beverage industry insights. My guests for today are Roepers of PREfresco Beverage Lab, Xavier Papasseit of ITS, Norris of Australian Native Products, Hassan Jamil of Dole, and Arjen van Wijk of Cibus Nexum. Welcome to the One to Taste Talks Food Ingredients podcast, where we take a deep dive into the journey of bringing a beverage product to market. In this episode, we'll be joined by 5 food professionals who will share their expertise on creating a prototype, winning prototype status, procurement, and supply chain management. Join us as we explore the exciting world of beverages and breweries and gain valuable insights into this dynamic and evolving industry. Hi, Peter. Great to have you in our podcast. You are our first speaker in this podcast series. Would it be possible if you tell a little bit what you're doing today?
Yeah, good morning, good afternoon, Jasper. Yes, I will be happy to tell something about it. No problem. What would you like to know?
I would love to know, Peter, what you're currently doing in your day-to-day work.
Well, okay, yes. So I run a lab in product development, let's say so, and product design, beverage technology. I do that in Amsterdam. I have customers all over the world, not only in Holland, but even worldwide, Mongolia, Singapore, just recently. And I develop products, I do testing. It could be that customers come to me with a question like, how does it dissolve? Does it dissolve? How does it react? What is the shelf stability? I do some research on that, and I prepare reports or I prepare prototypes in order for the customer to judge that.
So that means that you must be actually on top of what is happening in the entire beverage industry. Or maybe that's a bit too big. I know you're going to say that anyway. But what would you see as the major trends, where are the questions coming from?
Yeah, the major trends, what you see is really natural and in combination with functional. So it is both combined together. That's what most of my projects are about right now.
And can you give us a specific example? Like, is it active ingredients or natural active ingredients, or?
Yeah, that can be active ingredients like caffeine from botanical source, like guarana, like cola nuts. It can be flavonoids from tea extracts, that kind of stuff, and then combined. Well, not combined. That's already in the question. Of course, it should be botanical and it should be healthy and it should be adding something to the product. So we are far from let's say the past where it should be only nice tasting, like a cola or a orange drink. It should have something in it, and it should be natural and it should be healthy. That's what I'm seeing right now, basically.
Oh, cool. And obviously, these ingredients are new, I think, for a big part, or they need to be developed. Maybe they're not water soluble initially, etc., etc. Do you see challenges in the ingredient space for this?
Yeah, challenges are there, of course, and very common. I always say, and it's not a joke, but it sounds a little bit unscientific. I always say that beverages are not pizza, because in a pizza, if you would add something to the recipe, you would put an onion on top. That has no complicated issues in how it behaves, because an onion and a salami don't react. But in a beverage, everything you add to the system of the recipe will have an effect on the other ingredients. You have to test it, and of course, it's helpful if you have the experience up front to know what will happen if you add an acid to, let's say, a functional ingredient. If you lower the pH, what will happen to this specific ingredient? It's very helpful if you have that kind of technological background to estimate or to foresee what is going to happen in your system.
Which makes me also wonder, do you get really bizarre requests of things that technology cannot allow these days yet?
Yeah, that's unfortunately yes. No, but there are, of course, there's always possibilities. But the question is then, how stable is it? What I see nowadays is that people, they want to have the functionality of an oil kind of ingredient, and oil and water-based systems are complicated. There is, of course, there's ways to overcome. But depending on the type of oil, it is always a challenge. But I'm getting those kind of requests, yes.
Yeah, I can imagine. And if you would have to pinpoint one of the major challenges that people have when they start developing, what would that be?
The challenges in terms of?
The challenges in terms of bringing innovative products to the market in the product development part.
Yeah, well, that's basically what I already explained a little bit. It's the idea which people have, or let's say the startups they have a certain idea, and they don't know how to incorporate it in a recipe. So they have a very nice idea about functionality and how it should look like and how it should be packed. And then they come to me, and I have to tell them up front, okay, if you want to have this ingredient and that kind of packaging with this kind of processing technology, it will not happen, or it's not possible, or you have to change this in order to be able to get it in that kind of packaging. So that kind of challenges you have, like the wish or the desire to have a certain kind of product, to translate that into a working recipe and a sellable product. Those challenges are there.
Yeah, well, it seems that you've been already helping a lot of these companies a step forward in their thinking and in their product development, I'm sure. This was already the last question I had for you. Just if I look on what we see on the One Today's platform, it more or less resonates what you're saying. People are trying a lot of natural, organic, botanical ingredients to do something new. I think that the innovation time or the amount of new innovation in the market, at least that's my perception on what I see, is actually ramping up. So you see a lot of new trendy products in the market, which is really great to see, and also because they are predominantly healthy as well.
Right.
But I think if people want to develop something, I think it would be great if they connect with you and see how they can develop their products.
Yeah.
So thank you very much, Peter.
You're welcome, Jasper.
Hi, Xavier. Welcome to the One to Taste podcast. Thank you very much for attending this podcast. I think it would be great if you could tell the audience a little bit about who Xavier is.
Thank you, Jasper. I really appreciate this opportunity that we have this conversation today. Very, very briefly, I'm Xavier. I'm educated as a chemical engineer. long time ago, I've been working in the food ingredient business for about 25 years now. In different fields, I started working for a distribution company with many commodities and specialty ingredients, from very bizarre things like enzymes to bring together meat pieces, or fibers to fill processed foods, processed meats. So that gave me the chance to learn a lot about the real insides of the food and beverage industry. Different applications, different type of customers. That experience was in the Iberian market. Then I moved into the old national starch, the currently ingredient. There was also great experience working in the Iberia and Greece for also different applications, but basically dairy, bakery, savory as well, dressings and sauces. We were promoting specialty starches for the texture, but also for the health benefits, bringing high fiber and low sugar in bakery, for instance. And in the last 12 years, I've been focusing on flavors. The beginning, it was savory for meat, dressing, sauces, ready meals. And in the last 6 years, I've been working for ITS, my current company. I am the export manager, covering mainly continental Europe. And our main territory is sweet natural flavorings. So that's me. Before I go into ITS, if you want me to.
No, it sounds like you have a lot of experience, and that's always welcome. When you are a commercial person, it's always good to have that knowledge in your in the back of you, supporting your conversations, obviously, with the customers. In our talk today, we are zooming in actually together with you on the prototyping. Customers, they want to bring a new product to the market. They are starting with prototyping, and I would like to listen to you and hear from you. Okay, what are determining factors in the prototyping?
Yeah, well, we all know in this sector, in the food and beverage manufacturing, that projects may take normally quite long. From the moment that someone comes with an idea until the moment that the product is actually on the shelves and the consumers are starting to buy it. So that specific step of prototyping is so crucial to overcome the possible issues that the product will find in the future. That I think that we never pay enough attention to that. I feel the flavor supplier is a part of this long chain, and of course, any possible issue in this long chain can bring them bad consequences. Our customers normally they come with an idea. They have the idea of bringing something which is new, which is different, or which is similar to something in the market, but with a slight, with some advantage. Well, we try to support that by providing a market understanding. So we follow through the regular platforms, through our own knowledge, what's going on in the market, what we think the consumers are expecting, they are accepting. In terms of not only taste, we're providing taste, but of course, taste is only a part of it. We need to make sure that the appearance, the texture, the color, everything is important. And of course, in terms of taste, we try to guide, we try to propose which tastes are the most demanded at the moment by the market. So
what sources do you actually use when you say taste, texture, color? Those are important factors. But what knowledge do you bring that your customers really love?
Yeah, we are. That's a good question, actually. We think that our customers, we aim as a company, we aim to the small and medium companies, and we thought when the company was founded, our founder Mike Bagshaw thought that those companies, normally family-owned companies, deserved the kind of service that the big companies can pay on their own by subscribing to market knowledge platforms like Innova Database, some others. So we use this kind of platforms. Of course, we use our own observation, our own experience. But I mean, in order to bring facts and figures to the table, we can provide this kind of information. What's working in the last 6 months in a specific market, in a specific application. And then we can offer that to our customers. Say, hey, you're thinking about strawberry. Well, strawberry is a good idea, but probably raspberry is a bit better because those are the facts in the last 6 months. This is the kind of...
Okay. That sounds very clever. I think that that also resonates a little bit with what we try to do with One to Taste as well. We try to
Exactly.
be there for the small and medium-sized enterprises. And I think that if you look at the prototyping, if I can conclude your message, is that it's about color, it's about texture, it's about taste, but it's also about market knowledge. And understanding what are the new trends that are driving the market.
Absolutely.
I think, and you're using different kind of platforms. Innova, you were mentioning, I think, and others that can help you, and that you can then again use for the benefit of the small and medium-sized enterprises. That sounds very, very good, Xavier. Do you also see, and then we're wrapping things up, do you also see that the customer is never betting on one horse, but is always betting on two or maybe three, because that's something that we experience?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I think that's a wise decision, actually, trying to develop different options in parallel, 2, 3, or maybe not more, because that drains a lot of resources in a small and medium company. But I think it's good always to have a few alternatives on the table. That brings me to the next thing that our customer, One to Taste customer, needs flexibility, needs speed of reaction, needs very close support in terms of developing the prototype. So this is one of the things that we offer as well to our customers is our own development facilities. So we have a test bakery, we have a UHT line, we have the possibility to make from cereal bars to canned beverage, and then I think that's one of the advantages that our customers, again, small and medium companies, they really appreciate most. They can come in-house, they can work for 1 or 2 days together with us. We have a wide portfolio of flavors, but also we can create on purpose, depending on the trials and the iteration of trials that we can propose them.
And what I see is that ITS is very responsive in the market. I see you're also doing quite good insights in your posts. But we have to come to an end. I thank you so much, Xavier, for helping us giving insights on the prototyping and what is the perspective that ITS brings to the table in this respect. Thank you so much, and we'll be in touch soon, I'm sure. And we hope to invite you in the future for more.
You're very welcome, Jasper, and thank you again. Thank you so much for this chance.
Hi, Ross. Great to have you in our podcast today. We look forward to this conversation, but maybe good for our listeners that you can also give a brief introduction of yourself and what you're doing today.
Thanks, Jasper. I'll firstly introduce myself. I'm Ross Norris from Australian Native Products. I'm the general manager of the business and been with them for 2.5 years. And Australian Native Products is the world's largest grower of lemon and anise myrtle, two products which are quite, shall we say, famous native Australian herbs that are sold globally into many industries such as tea, distilling, food, and personal care. And it's a pleasure to be with you today. Thank you.
Thanks. To start off with the first question, companies often have to balance multiple priorities when it comes to finalizing new product development. In your experience, what are the main priorities that conflict and how do they manage them?
That's a good question, Jasper. Obviously, the biggest trade-off we find is trading off price, and many companies see the desired products they want to make often cost a lot more than the trade restrictions and cost restrictions will allow them. So one of the ways we help companies manage that is by doing work behind the scenes to educate them on how the cost of use of products such as lemon myrtle actually lead to them having a cheaper cost of goods than they may already have when they're using other citrus herbs. Another area where they tend to make a trade-off is health claims, and certainly with products they often want to produce an ideal product, but they really have to make sure that they're fully compliant with local regulations, and that often means that they have to say less than they choose to say or than they'd like to say in order to make sure that they have a product that doesn't raise the ire of their competitors and also stays within the regulations. So in our experience, these are the two biggest trade-offs, and usually taste is king, which is why we find that we've got great acceptance for lemon myrtle globally.
Thanks, Ross. And if we would take that to a next question, what are the most common barriers to a project being able to launch on its desired date?
That's a good question, Jasper. In many of the businesses I've been in, I think that one of the biggest struggles has been to get a project launching on time. So the main barriers that I see from a quality point of view, it's essential to make sure a lot of stability testing is done in order to ensure that there's a product that meets all of the regulatory requirements, but also satisfies consumers for the longer term, and certainly at least for the stated shelf life of the product. And at the end of that shelf life should still look and taste as fresh as possible. Another barrier I see is the keeping the over the longer period of product development, keeping the actual concept true to the original concept that was identified from consumer discussions or market testing. Because there's a lot of twists and turns a product can take, and for quality reasons or cost reasons, the product will often, there'll be pressures to change the product. So I think that's an important one for businesses to remain focused on. What is the value proposition that their consumer or their customer wants, and making sure that the final product stays true to that. Another challenging barrier we see is supply time for new ingredients, and certainly there's that old adage that you can have cost or quality or speed, but you only get to choose two of those. And I think that supplying new materials can often be quite challenging, especially with agricultural products. Certainly we've invested in a lot of fresh plantations in order to take that problem away, because it was a historical issue for native Australian botanicals and specifically for lemon myrtle. But we're pleased to say that there is no longer a problem. Thanks to our partnership with 1-2 Taste, we're making stock available on the ground in Europe to really try and raise the profile.
Great. Do you actually see specific times of the year when products are more launched into the market?
Unfortunately, Jasper, I think that in a lot of situations, both here in Australia and in a lot of overseas markets, the timing of new product launches does tend to be driven by review periods for the major retailers. And certainly in most markets, the major retailers will structure it so that specific categories launch at specific times of the year. Outside of that, with small and medium companies, it's great to see that they will tend to launch based on the merit of their idea and certainly based around the benefits they feel that product will deliver. So, there's the obvious seasonal launch windows, such as Christmas products for in the November period, or products that are specific for winter, or products that are specific for weight loss prior to summer and things like that. For example, in health products, you'll see prior to winter, you'll see big launches of immune-based products. You'll also see prior to summer, you'll see a lot of the slimming products come out. And from a food point of view, I think you'd certainly see a shift in the styles launched based on the season. So I guess to summarize, if you're a small or a medium-sized company who is less bound by particular retailer category reviews, you've got the freedom to launch when you feel the consumers will be most receptive to your launch and most receptive to look and most ready for the benefits the product's bringing. If you're a larger brand who's launching into the grocery channels or the retailers, you will find that you're pretty clearly restricted to 1 or 2 windows a year when you're able to present your products and hopefully have them sold into the retailers.
Thanks, Ross, for your great insights. In Want to Taste, we see that the introduction of a new product takes around 120 days. If you want to launch a product in the summer, it means that you need to start at least 4 months in advance. So that's the least time that you need to prepare your next launch. Well, closing now. Thank you, Ross, and we'll be in touch.
Thanks, Jasper. And certainly from our point of view, it's great to see businesses focusing on the ingredient space and doing what you want to taste do. So always a pleasure to talk to you, and can't wait to do this again at some stage.
Hi, Hassan. Welcome to the Want to Taste podcast. Thank you very much for participating with us today. Maybe good you give a brief introduction of what you're doing currently, and after that we'll dive immediately into the questions that we have prepared for you.
Thanks, Jasper. Great to be here today. So today I'm representing Dole Asia Holdings, and specifically a business unit that we've recently created. It's called Dole Specialty Ingredients. It's a new corporate venture, and we're looking to basically come out with new ingredients coming from all upcycled sources. And these new ingredients we've been trying to launch into the market, and specifically I am helping with the commercialization of these new ingredients. So working as a business development and strategy manager for Dole Specialty Ingredients.
Wow, I think that's very important work, and it fits in the sustainability picture that everybody should be working towards, right? So how do you see, or how do you believe it is important for especially these kind of ingredients? How do you price them, and what is the thought behind that at Dole?
No, so definitely, I think before we even get into the factors which determine the success of a potential new ingredient, one core value that we all agree to and we have promised to our stakeholders is to make nutrition accessible and also affordable. And then coming back to your question, so in line with our promise, we've been trying to introduce new ingredients with a clear perspective and a challenge that exists in the market, where when a new ingredient goes into the market, we know that we're going to replace an existing ingredient, which means there are existing expectations from a utility perspective and then also from a use cost perspective. So the total value that we're looking to create has to be at par or better from a cost and utility variable function perspective. And then at the same time, even if we have an existing ingredient which is there in the market, we always know that there would be potential new ingredients that can come and replace that existing ingredient. So cost, we feel, is not only important for a new ingredient, but also from a continuation of success factor as well, because ultimately, it is the willingness of the end consumers and our customers which would eventually determine the success of our ingredients as well.
Yeah, I think you're spot on there, because people do compare existing pricing versus new pricing, obviously. Is that also how you determine your products? Do you look at, okay, with this product I can be successful, so that's also from a pricing perspective, or is that not the process that you guys follow?
Definitely, we take into consideration the market segments that we're looking to enter, and generally across all the market segments, we've seen that there is this increasing need to curb the costs, because this is one emerging opportunity as we see it in the industry. And the way we have been looking to basically overcome this challenge is to work at a strategic level on multiple fronts. So, one strategy that we've recently adopted is to move all our production facilities very near to the source itself. Because, at least in our industry, raw material cost is one big driving factor. So, by having our production facilities right next to the farms, in a lot of these cases, it is our own farms as well, we are able to bring down the raw material costing. And then at the same time, as is a trend in the agri industry, we've been investing into technology where we've gotten into automation or use of Internet of basically IoT devices as well to better improve our predictability and our overall productivity as well. The last thing I'd like to highlight is specifically under DSI, we're trying to get into the journey of our customers as well, where we are trying to reduce their cost from a product development perspective. And by shortening their cycles, we want to create that additional value going into the market.
Okay, that sounds very progressive, eh? How you guys are looking at that. Do you see competition doing a similar thing or not?
I think it varies from industry to industry. Specifically, if we talk about certain commoditized products, this is something which is still largely remains as an opportunity. And that's why within Dole, specifically for DSI, we are functioning as a startup, which gives us that freedom and flexibility within our internal structures as well. So we do foresee this as an opportunity and could be a potential differentiation in the industry, where not a lot of our competitors are currently venturing into this space, I would say.
Okay, so if you look at the future, in the coming years, you're probably a little bit ahead of the curve in how you look at your future pricing, how you look at your future processing, and I like the fact that you want to be close to the to the to the source, right? And I think it's also good for labor in that respect. So it has probably multiple benefits. So what we if I if I see what's happening on the One to Taste platform, we see also these challenges in pricing and transparency in pricing, and we try to be as open as you can be. We don't set the pricing; you guys are setting the prices, um, and that way we make sure that our customers know that we don't overcharge or that we look at it from that perspective. And I think that transparency was something that has been long missing in the market, and I think it's an important aspect that in this digital time and age, that transparency is a key factor in the way you position your product and in the way you price your product. Hassan, I know it's a very short interview, but we've already come to the end of
Okay.
this interview. I want to thank you very much. I really appreciated your insights. I really also am inspired by the way that Dole is giving this opportunity within its own existence to
Mm.
have an internal startup that can
Yeah.
bring sustainable products to the market. And we love working with you guys, and we're going
No,
to work
we're
for the
just
future.
getting started, and I I think now our fiscal year ends in March. April onwards, we do have very aggressive plans. We should have our production facilities up and running. So that's
Cool.
why looking forward to continue to develop this partnership. And I think to your point, the point you highlighted on uh, transparency of information, this is definitely a big opportunity. And it's not just that it's good for us suppliers and then our collaboration partners to focus on this. It is definitely something which is picked up in other industries, and it's about time that we follow the same route. And
I
this is
agree.
definitely the way forward.
I agree 200%.
Yeah, I mean, you look
So
at
we're
Amazon.
just gonna do it, right?
Yeah. I think we're in the right direction.
Very
But
good.
yeah,
Thank you very much,
you're welcome.
Hassan.
Great to connect with you, Jasper, today.
Hi, Arjen. Great to have you in our podcast today. Thanks for joining. And maybe good for our listeners to give some insight in what you're currently doing.
Hi, Jasper. Thanks for inviting me on this. It's a pleasure to do that. Thank you. On this podcast, previously we started with a collaboration with One to Taste, and Cibus Nexum, the company I'm working for, is all about food contract manufacturing. The mission of our company is actually to be we are actually the only independent service provider in Europe, optimizing food development and production. And for that purpose, we arrange successful collaborations in this area of co-manufacturing. And that's what we are doing. So we are doing quite a range, different range of projects and consultancy assignments from the very smallest startup in the Netherlands until the very biggest family-owned company in the US. So very challenging, and everything that's in between. So it's really a nice area of working in. Yeah.
Sounds super cool.
Yeah,
And
it
is
is.
super cool, I know.
It is.
Hey, can you tell
It
us a little bit with your experience, what issues are involved? Because we're going to talk a little bit about the supply chain.
Yes.
What issues that you encounter when you set up companies for new product introductions, etc.?
Yeah, well, because our main focus is on contract manufacturing and not specifically, of course, on ingredients or packaging materials. It's on contract manufacturing. We do recognize, of course, all the dynamics that comes along with purchasing and sourcing the proper raw materials and ingredients, and also, of course, on packaging. I think in the triangle, you can distinguish the three major aspects of issues in the supply chain, and the security around that is price, availability, and quality. And considering that quality is always a prerequisite, the balance is always between price and availability. That's not only for the ingredient, but also on contract manufacturing part. And what we also notice is, of course, the time to market, not only delivery times of materials, but also time to market when it comes to launch. So from the scratch concept until actually launching a product in the market. Yeah.
Are you saying that lead times are an important factors for in this aspect?
Yes, lead times are a very important factor. In fact, we can distinguish two ones. As I mentioned, the time to market lead time. Yeah? So in much cases, the retail has certain windows of launching products, certain slots. And a lot of our customers are facing a challenge to get into the right slot of launching products. So you have to calculate back when it comes to trials, when it comes to preparations, when it comes to product development, and also the lead times of materials, to have a proper planning in place to be sure you'll reach that deadline on time. And then separately, of course, you have the lead times of the ingredients and the raw materials yourself.
Yeah. So that could be months, right? If you calculate back, just
Yes, it can be
thinking.
months. And of course, depending also on stock levels, or you have to buy things completely new, which can happen in new product developments. But actually, we're talking about months. And you also see a trend nowadays that a lot of production activities are streamlined and organized around availability and about having the right materials at the right time, at the right place. So not importing everything from China, but setting up local distribution and supply chains, making it possible to source locally, for instance, and do it more locally. Yeah. So, and it doesn't have to mean that you're have to pay a higher price when producing, for instance, in the Netherlands. Some people ask us sometimes, well, start searching in the eastern part of Europe, or the southern part should be cheaper over there. Well, it's not always the case.
Yeah, I think that's very interesting. We see that as well, that European sourcing or local for local, that's becoming an important aspect in the supply chain.
Also, when it comes to footprint, CO2 footprint and CSR guidelines. Yeah, correct.
Hey, and can you tell me something about in your projects? You're saying you're managing more or less the contract manufacturing, but it does entail also that you need to make sure that you handle the stocks. Maybe that you set your stock levels, or that you have those kind of discussions with your partners.
Yeah, of course, we are in the contract manufacturing business, so we are not managing stock of raw materials and packaging, for instance, for our clients on the contract manufacturing. However, we do advise our clients in the projects that we are doing to consider at least several scenarios when setting up the supply chain. For instance, you can rely on a contract manufacturer and leverage their buying power in the case they have access to or good contracts with ingredient suppliers. That could be a preference. Or you can consider, for instance, to hire another company which then can make a premix of ingredients, could also be on stock at that third party, and then provide that to the contract manufacturer. And the third option is also quite well known, and that is when the brands we do projects for have their own major contracts with ingredient suppliers, and then they will provide that materials to the contract manufacturer. So there are different routes and scenarios to manage that risk properly. Yeah,
it's quite complex, eh?
Yes.
This whole thing. Hey, and one last question in regards to sustainability. You mentioned local for local, or within Europe. Do you also see that in other aspects?
Well, when it comes to manufacturing or ingredients, you mean?
Well, maybe both. For example, do they choose ingredients that are typically more sustainably in its nature, like side stream raw materials, or do you see those kind of things?
Yes, we have a lot of connections and also aware of projects that are ongoing when it comes to side streams, waste streams, and products which how they look and, for instance, are not suitable to be sold in retail to the consumer. And we are in contact with a lot of companies actually developing new processes and using those materials to create other products or to extract certain natural ingredients out of those waste materials. And that's I think that's also a very important topic to keep an eye on. Yes.
Yeah, it's interesting. I recognize that. I will come to a conclusion, Arjen.
Yes.
Just reflecting a little bit on what we see also. So we also saw the local for local, but we also see that because we are digital, there is an expectation that digital is fast. So it's like they call it a consumerization of the B2B buyer. Where he's just behaving like a consumer, and if when you order on an online platform, you expect it to be in your possession the next day.
Exactly.
But there's a similar expectation that we see also in the supply chain in the B2B that they expect it to be super fast. So I think that's one of the major challenges also in digitizing the B2B industry.
Correct.
I want to thank you for the
You're
conversation.
Welcome.
And sorry that it's super short, but love to chat more in other sessions.
Great.
And look forward to working and continue to work together.
Yes, wonderful. Thanks for having me on this podcast, Jasper. And good luck with all the other sequences. Looking forward to that. Thanks, Jasper.
That's it for today's episode on the Beverage and Brewery Industry Insight podcast. We've gained valuable insights into the journey of bringing a beverage product to market and explored the latest trends in the industry. Thank you to our 5 food professionals for sharing their expertise. Join us next time as we continue to delve into the exciting world of food ingredients.